from the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. Consider This, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Wyatt. Welcome to the 26th season and this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, FEI World Cup Finals. Joining us to talk more about it is Lisa Roskins. Lisa is the CEO of Burlington Capital and founder of Omaha Equestrian Foundation. Thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate it.
I want to start off, what is the FEI World Cup?
So FEI stands for the Fédération Équestre Internationale. It's a Swiss founded organization, so thus the French twist on International Equestrian Federation. The World Cup Finals is their penultimate indoor championship. It's held every year and it rotates to various cities around the world. They started it in 1979, so it's really been a generational championship.
So I was going to ask you to tell us just a little bit about the history. What's important to note here?
So the equestrian sport has been going on since time immemorial, and really it wasn't until after the First World War that civilians were allowed to compete in Olympic or international championships. The FEI came in and started governing the sport to make sure that horse welfare was considered as part of the sport. And in 1979, they decided to start hosting a championship for the indoors, with the Olympics and the World Games being the summer championships. And they also wanted to have a national or an international annual championship. And all the others were on quadrennials. So this is really the only chance for the best in the world to go head to head each year.
Wow. And Lisa, as this is picking up steam over the years, your interest in horses doing the same thing. I understand your parents gave you a pony at the age of 5 and the name adorable, Taffy. Taffy is its name.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I wish Taffy were as adorable as her name. She was sort of fit the bratty pony profile. I think everybody who's stuck with the sport has had one in their past at some point. So yeah, I was a little kid who, we lived with a horse farm in the background of our neighborhood, and my parents kept finding me crawling under the fence trying to play with the horses, and so we got Taffy, and Taffy taught me a lot about staying on and perseverance. And she really was, a great little horse, but when she got sick of me, she would just run under a low fence and kind of just rub me off on a branch or a fence or something like that. So it's kind of funny, it must be in my blood that I stuck with it after that. But she was just the sweetest little gal till she was tired of you, and then when she was tired of you, it was over.
Horses are little girls' dreams. Mm-hmm. Talk to our viewers out there who might be watching and thinking right now, I want a horse, right? So talk about life growing up and having such a great interest in this particular animal.
To me, it's a wonderful sport for a young person, because unlike a lot of sports that become very self-focused, what's my score, how many minutes am I getting, etc., the very first thing you do when you go take a riding lesson is you groom, pick their feet, take care of the horse. So it's a very other-focused sport, because without a horse, you don't have a sport. And so it requires you to really form a partnership. And yes, there's lots of bows, and now they have all these cool sparkly things you can paint on your horses, which I didn't have as a kid, but believe me, I did plenty of embarrassing things for my horse. But it really is, there's this bonding and this relationship, and you learn a lot of subliminal communication skills, because your partner in your sport not only doesn't speak English, they don't speak verbally, except rarely. So you learn a lot of, I think, very valuable skills beyond the sport.
Okay, fast forward to 2009. Why is that such a significant year for you?
Well, I think 2009 was the year I lost my mind, because we decided to start this thing called the Omaha Equestrian Foundation. So I'm just a grown-up horse-crazy kid. It never really left my blood, and I went to the World Cup finals when they were in Vegas. I was riding, and still am, but I was riding as an amateur and competing in the jumpers, and I wanted to go see all the people I've admired riding in person. And so I went there, and as I was walking around the Thomas and Mack Center, I thought, we have a building here that could do this, dare I say, better. Because a lot of the facilities had to be in tents, had to be outside, and the beauty of the CHI Health Center is it was built originally with the rodeo in mind. So it was built with animals in mind. Most of these venues were built with other sports in mind. And so it really is an ideal place to host this championship.
Okay, now to say this, Lisa, is one thing, but then you pooled your friends and family, and tell us how you actually pulled off bringing this thing to Omaha.
Well, I think if we use the word I, we would be using the wrong word. It was definitely a we operation from the beginning. I talked to a lot of different people. A lot of my friends said, yeah, go for it. But the reality was, would the donors, would the sponsors, would the community be there? And I'll never forget a breakfast, or maybe it was a lunch, it was a meal that went blank after he said yes, with John Wilson at the Doherty Foundation. And at the time, he was with Chuck Durham, and I said, what do you think? You're the most rational, practical person I know. Is this crazy? And he said, it's just crazy enough to be doable. And he said, I think it's what this community needs. And it was that endorsement that really said, okay, it's one thing for all my horse enthusiast friends to say yes. It's another person who said, I think the community will back this, who has a thumb on the pulse of the community. And so we just started. We just started pulling people together. We put on an event that qualified us to host an FEI event, and then that event qualified us to apply to host the championships. And so in 2013, we began the application process. And we were selected to come back and present in Switzerland with the other finalists, which happened to be three very major venues. Hong Kong had hosted the Olympics. Sertogenbosch is just outside of Amsterdam, and they are a perennial host of the championships. And London, which was to be hosting it had just hosted the 2012 Olympics. So we were definitely an underdog going into the interview process.
So coming out of it, what did you learn before we talk about this particular event here?
Well, I think we learned, first of all, we had a good team. I mean, we put really the top people. I tried to find the best people I could in the sport, from John Garner to run our sports overall, to Thomas Bauer to run dressage. And then we had really top people in marketing and sponsorship and fundraising as well. And frankly, almost that entire team is still with us. Harold Cliff helped us with the organization of the sport. Unfortunately, he passed this year. But it really was, I think it came down to the FEI trusted the people that we had. And once we showed them the capacity of the venue, I think that helped them realize, yeah, this city really can do it.
Okay, and 2023 now, it's back.
It's back. And like I said, we brought the band back together. I can't wait to go down to the venue and see everyone. That's half the fun for me, is reconnecting with all of my friends from all over the world, because our team really does come from multiple countries, a couple of continents. So it's a really nice, almost a bit of a reunion. It's a hard-working reunion. In 23, we learned a lot in 17. You know, we were rookies, and we did a great job. We got rave reviews from everyone, from the riders to the media, to the organizing governing bodies. But there were things we thought we could do better, and we could learn from that experience. And then we also, the first year, we sort of had that, you know, I kind of call it that chip on your shoulder that Omaha has of saying, look, we're cool too. And so we did a lot to present Omaha as a big cultural city. We did a lot of arts and entertainment to sort of give people a sense that we're a city that's arrived. And this year, what we wanted to do is we wanted to represent the whole state and represent the region, and really talk about our history and our culture and the sort of rich tapestry that is Nebraska.
Which is a great segue into my question about theme. Oh. And as you're talking about that, we're going to put up a visual for our viewers.
Oh, super,
so
yes.
Tell us about the theme, Lisa.
So the theme came about when we started thinking that we hosted this in 17, we hosted it in 23, and I've got to give credit to Julie Boylson, our executive director, for saying, what happened in 1723? What was going on the Great Plains in that era? Well, that was when horses really started coming, that maybe not that year, but that phase of our history was when horses really started being used as modes of transportation, as vehicles for getting food. We were pulling our fire engines with them, we were delivering our mail, and our Native American tribal culture was really growing around this creature called the horse. And it's a very important part of our tribal history as well as our broader history as well. And so the theme this year is built around 1723 and melding that use of the horse out of necessity with the use of the horse for sport.
Very cool. All right, there are 3 equestrian competitions. Before we show viewers what those look like, we're going to put the 3 competitions up on the screen. And as we're doing that, just briefly walk us through each one of these, Lisa.
Okay, so the Longines FEI Jumping World Cup Final is just what you would think. It's horses jumping obstacles. The FEI Dressage World Cup Final is dancing. Think of dressage as a horsey way of saying dancing with horses, where they don't jump, but they do beautiful movements to music. And then vaulting implies that people are leaping off the horse, but think about vaulting like you do in gymnastics, except the horse this time is moving.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at some photos. We're going to start with jumping.
Okay.
And we have 3 photos. We'll start with this one. And as we put it up, what are we seeing here, Lisa?
Okay, so this is a horse jumping out of a combination. And a combination of jumps are 2 jumps that are close together. They present a particularly difficult challenge because there's a very restricted amount of space for the horse to gather its balance and leave the ground again. And in jumping, they tend to jump between 15 plus or minus obstacles over the course of really not much more than 70 plus or minus seconds. This is a horse that's descending off of an obstacle called an oxer. There's a couple of different types of jumps. Verticals are just 1 rail. You'll note this obstacle has spread, and that's called an oxer, and it tests the horse scope to stretch across a wider obstacle. And those were actually built because oxen can jump very high vertically, but they can't jump width. So those fences were created to keep oxen from jumping out of their pasture. And then this is McLean Ward and H.H. Azur winning the finals in 2017. It was the first time an American had won on home turf in a very long time. So it was particularly exciting. It was personally exciting for me because McLean was a great advisor to me as we were building up to the finals and really helped make sure we get things right.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to the next one, I do want to ask, I have to ask after looking at these photos, they make it look so easy. But,
it's not.
But talk about the training that is involved. I mean, this doesn't just happen. It's like any other sport. You have to work for it.
True.
What type of training would you say would be key here?
So first of all, training the horse, because if you think about it, split-second timing makes the difference between whether a rail stays up or a rail comes down. And also speed is important. So you have to be fast, you have to be clean, which means you leave all the jumps up. If you think about it, we think of 3 years old in the racing industry as sort of the pinnacle. Probably the youngest horse in any of the disciplines in this championship will be 8 or 9 years old. It's that much time to create the responsiveness for them to learn your cues, to learn the timing, and to get the confidence to handle the maneuvers. It's a strength building exercise for the horse, and obviously the riders have to be strong and capable of handling the exercise. But really, more than anything, it's developing a feel and a timing so that when you think something, you can communicate that to your horse in time for them to respond to handle the challenge that's been presented.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's go on to the second competition, dressage.
Dressage.
Thank you,
very
Lisa.
well done.
We have one photo here. Tell us what we're seeing.
So this is Isabel coming down center line after she has won the championship. And Isabel Wirth is one of the most decorated Olympians in all sports. She has, I think, 7 gold medals, multiple world championships, multiple World Cup finals championships. And she's dropped her hand from the reins, and that's a wonderful show of, I don't need to. I've trained this horse so well, it's going to respond to me shifting my weight when the time comes to stop. And she's a wonderful horseman There's an amazing video of her on one of her Olympic mounts at 20 years old. The horse is retired. She is riding him bareback with a halter and lead rope, nothing in his mouth, doing all of the movements. So she really is an example. She brings a lot of her horses along as young horses and is really an amazing horseman. And we're very fortunate that she's going to be joining us for this finals again.
Wow. Okay. Let's go on to the third, and that's vaulting. Now, we're going to start with something called the worm, but we're just going to count on you to kind of get us through these
Walk
clips.
through
We have
vaulting
5
101.
different examples, so we'll go
Okay.
ahead and put that up.
Well, and I think what I'll do a little bit for vaulting, because it's so new to people in this country, to me, vaulting is an incredible combination of ballet, gymnastics, and horsemanship. So this is where I'm saying this is the pommel horse, but the horse is a horse. And so they will do, this is a dismount where she's jumping off the horse and trying to stick the landing off of a moving vehicle. And she had a great round, so she's very excited. But what I love about vaulting, and they do have pairs, and they actually have another competition that involves 3 people, is it's such an equitable sport. You do not have to own your horse. Most people belong to teams that have multiple horses, and anybody can do it. Obviously, not anybody, because I can't do that. But anybody that has the drive and the desire, you don't have to buy a horse and take care of a horse or have the ability to get to a farm. And it's not something that requires a lot of space. It's really I think it's a very up and coming, beautiful and exciting sport that really opens the door to a lot of people who might not otherwise be able to participate.
That is incredible. I have to ask, I would imagine these people start at a very, very early age. In addition to this, there must be some dance classes. There have to be some sporting, other athletics that they're a part of. Talk about that a little bit and the years that it takes to do something like that.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting. Vaulting is actually is going to sport our youngest competitor. So our youngest competitor is 16 in the vaulting, and yet our oldest competitor in their mid-50s is in dressage. So it's really an amazing sport, and I think we have almost every decade represented in between those two in this finals, which is what I do love about all of the equestrian sports, is they really are lifetime sports. You can do things when you're 5, and you can do things when you're in your 50s. I'm living proof of that. Not at this level, mind you. So it is a very physical sport. Your horse is an athlete and you are an athlete. So you need to be able to train both of you. So there's a lot of strength training, there's a lot of aerobic training. In vaulting, you're correct. There's a lot of dance training and a lot of gymnastics involved. Interestingly, in dressage, because they do their final championship ride is to music, there is actually an element of music and artistic composition to that sport as well. So you'll get a really broad brush of all the things you can do with a horse this coming weekend.
Couple questions for you, Lisa. What is your favorite thing to do in terms of working with a horse, right? Whether it's anything we just saw, maybe it's nothing we just saw. And then maybe something that you've witnessed here recently that you think, I wish I had tried that, right? That looks really interesting to me. That could have been really cool. So favorite thing you've done and maybe something you wish you would have attempted.
Okay, so first of all, I'm a jumper rider, sake of full disclosure. So I love jumping. I love the timing. It's really difficult if you think of how a hurdler or a high jumper has to place their feet just right to be able to give maximum effort, but in the most efficient way possible. That's what you have to do with your horse. You have to help place them. They do not know the course. They do not know where they're going. Only the rider knows where they're going in the arena. So there is a thrill to navigating that, and the partnership that it takes to me is so exciting. There is another thing. I work with a lot of young horses and a lot of troubled horses, and I love when a horse has a light bulb moment. Whether it's jumping, whether it's on the flat, or even on the ground, unmounted, there is just something really amazing when you've broken through and had that communication. As far as something I wish I'd tried, I am actually doing a little bit more dressage. I did it as a young woman, as a kid when I was learning. It was part of my base. But I am really, really since 17, and frankly watching Isabel and being able to see her up close, and the riding she and Carl Hester did was masterful, and Laura Graves was our second place rider. The three of them really showed me what true beauty can be in flat work. So I've been playing with it a little bit myself, and I kind of wish I'd done more of that.
Okay.
But there's still time.
Competitions are obviously the big featured thing at CHI Health, but there will be other things that folks will be able to experience while they're there.
Oh, of course.
Talk about things that are going on outside of that.
So the competitions are ticketed events, but what we really wanted to do was bring this sport to anyone who wanted to see it. So the educational exposition and vendor fair are open to the public free of charge. And in the middle of the vendor area is the warm-up arena. So all of these World Championship riders will be preparing their horses for competition where anybody can come watch them. And it's actually great in many cases when there's not a competition going on. There are very informal moments where the riders are just working quietly with their horses. The vendor fair is a wide variety of things. Obviously, there's lots of horsey stuff for us horse crazy kids, but there's going to be a lot of art, a lot of fashion. There's a really great belt manufacturer that I'm excited to have go buy some beautiful beaded belts from. And so there's a lot of really cool things to come and wander around. In addition, we have an educational exposition. We have, I think it's like 50,000 square feet of exhibit space talking about biology, about nutrition. We have 9 different horses from little miniatures all the way up to giant draft horses, so that you can, it's called our gallery of breeds, so you can experience all the different kinds of things that horses do, because as much as will be going on, this is just a taste of what horses can do. And then we have a demonstration arena where experts will be teaching lessons, doing demonstrations, showing you how to do things with your horse. So just about anything you want to learn about a horse you can find at the CHI Center.
Wow, okay, in the 4 or so minutes we have remaining, I'd like you to tell our viewers a little bit more about the Omaha Equestrian Foundation, supporters, and then benefits to the state of Nebraska.
Oh, of course. So the benefits of the event are fairly obvious. First of all, we're bringing people from over 20 countries to our state. So we're exposing people to the state of Nebraska who might not ever see it. I'm hopeful that they will look to us for partnerships and business opportunities. But beyond that, we're giving our community an opportunity to hear all different languages, see all different cultures, and really get a broad brush. Beyond just the educational offerings, you'll hear languages you've never heard. We've encouraged the riders to greet people in their native tongue so that you really do get the international feeling of the event. You know, there's always the economic piece of it, where we expect to have, you know, a $20 million economic impact. That puts us in the caliber of the swim trials in the College World Series. So it will be good for our state from an economic perspective. It'll be good for our hotels and restaurants, because we're close to 10,000 hotel room nights. So that's a great business for our community. So the benefits, to me, don't get me started. I can go on and on and on. But to me, the Omaha Equestrian Foundation has sort of 2 missions. One is to bring people to this sport and bring this sport to our community. And it really is about promoting high performance sport and making the Midwest more of a center for the sport. It tends to be coastal. And we have already seen the results of 2017, because Fort Worth is now going to host the World Cup finals in 2026. And before, they had never even hosted a horse show in this discipline. Credit to Aaron Davis Heineken, who's made that happen. But it's exciting to see this sport growing up. Colorado and Illinois are growing in their venues. We have a new venue, Quail Run Horse Center, that has grown up since 17, that is hosting national level regional shows as well. So to me, we're starting to build an industry. And that's what the side benefit of what OEF is trying to do here. We used to be a very big horse community. And with horses, you get veterinarians, you get farriers, you get all sorts of jobs, from stable hands to people with multiple degrees. And I really would like to build that economic ecosystem. None of it would be possible without the amazing group of supporters that we have. We have incredible donors and sponsors and volunteers that have been with us since day one. And like I said, this is a we thing. It would not have happened without an army of people, majority of which are from here. Like I said, we bring people in from all over the world, but the team that really makes this happen day to day and in and out, the core base is here in Nebraska. It's something our state should be very proud of.
Okay, we have about 30 seconds or so. Lisa, final thoughts as we're talking about the FEI World Cup finals today.
Oh, if I had one final thought, I'd say come. Come, whether you buy a ticket, please. That would be really nice. That would help us out. We're a nonprofit organization, so every dollar that comes in helps us pursue our mission. But really, I would just say take a minute, take a day, take a couple hours, and come experience it. It's going to be an incredible weekend.
All right, we want to go for more information. We're going to put that up for our viewers now, for anybody who's wanting to buy a ticket or even just thinking about it. There are 3 opportunities here. You could go to omaha2023.fei.org, omahaequestrian.org, and the number 402-932-0161, and finally go straight to Ticketmaster.
Do not pass go.
Right.com. Talking with Lisa Roskins today about the FEI World Cup Finals. I want to wish you and everybody involved the best with this event. Thank you for bringing it
of course.
to Omaha.
No,
you and your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
You bet. And thanks to our students who are working so hard behind the scenes, and of course to all of you for watching. As we close, a look at the Omaha Henry Dorley Zoo as seen through the lens of Jenna Jansen, a junior at UNO. We'll see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television. More information and program archives can be found at nebraskapublicmedia.org/considerthis. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call UNO Television at 402-554-2516 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.